Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Bob Ferguson says it is un-American to let ICE agents wear masks while he does everything possible to keep un-Americans here in the country. But before we get to any of that, time for today's daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
This one cracks me up. So, the media loves their fake narratives, and they love to jump on their fake narratives. What happened this week? People at University of Washington see a pregnant woman getting arrested and say immediately, "It's ICE! ICE is arresting a pregnant woman. Oh, and she has a child with her. ICE arrested a pregnant woman and separated her from her child." Now, immediately, this story stinks. And I'm going to tell you why. Starts with the activists, and it ends with the mayor's office. The activists say this, and this is from Through the Static, an Antifa anti-fascist account over on Instagram. Armed men with Homeland Security investigations, wearing differing fatigue, some in plainclothes, detained a young woman outside of UW's Delta Tau Delta building on March 17th after 1 p.m. HSI is the investigative wing of Immigration and Customs Enforcement and has been conducting kidnappings for ICE. Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson and the UW stated this incident was not immigration related. Whoa. So you say they're the arm of ICE, but then they're saying the incident is not immigration related. They get all mad that this pregnant woman was arrested on Greek Row. What's your first question? What is your first question? I didn't know they were getting it on that much on Greek Row. Why is there a pregnant woman on Greek Row? I thought you guys give out contraceptives like they're candy out there. But, okay, sure, there's a pregnant woman on Greek Row. Okay, I want to know why the Greek Row lady is partying on Greek Row. Why the pregnant lady is partying on Greek Row. That don't make no sense to me. And also, she has a child there? Okay. I used to do property management for one of the fraternities up at University of Washington. And they had broken stuff all the time. And I remember the first time I go out there, I'm supposed to meet with the chapter president. So I go out to the house, which shall remain nameless, and I knock on the front door because I don't know what to do, and the thing's locked, and you need a punch code to get in, but I'm assuming the dude's around somewhere. And I knock on the door, and I wait a few minutes, and nobody's coming out. Finally, the door opens, and I'm like, somebody's not hungover around here or something, or somebody heard me knocking. Nope. It's a guy escorting a girl out the front door from the Walk of Shame. And I'm like, wow, this is the most movie-esque thing ever. I was never in a fraternity, but I am seeing what's happening right now.
When you described this woman, my thought was, oh, well, she must be a spouse of one of the football players.
I'm sure that's what it was. Absolutely.
You ever seen that at a well, you don't watch a lot of college football because
no, but I know what you're talking. You see it in minor
they'll
league
win a big
baseball
championship, and they're like, that kid's 21. He hasn't got a 6-year-old, and what is going on out here?
I have questions, shall we? I have questions.
It's not the Super Bowl.
No, definitely not. So what happens here? Automatically, I have questions. Why is a pregnant woman with a child on Greek Row at University of Washington? Secondly, you're telling me that they're saying it wasn't immigration related. So why is HSI there? Why are they dealing with this? So let's go over and let's check out Katie Wilson's social media.
Maybe it was St. Patrick's Day. They were Irish twins.
That's what. Oh, thank you, Zach. She was just there for a St. Patty's Day event.
Kind of a mascot.
There you go. That's what it was. Okay. So there's a statement from Katie Wilson up here about this case. I'm aware of the reports from the U District about a woman who was detained by federal authorities and separated from her small child who is currently with CPS. My team has been closely monitoring the situation and has confirmed she was detained by the Department of Homeland Security on a criminal warrant. To the best of our knowledge, this was not immigration related. I'm grateful for the community members who have been responsive to the immediate aftermath and will continue to work in partnership. All right, this stinks. This stinks to high heaven. Why? Because she doesn't miss an opportunity to call out ICE or say it's evil or call out the police, but she's saying that it wasn't immigration related, it was a criminal warrant. So already Katie Wilson knows more than we know, and way more than she's letting on, but she's still praising people involved in this. This stinks to high heaven. KUOW gets a hold of the story. I'm building towards something here. Go with me on this, because this is great. This is some of the sloppiest journalism I have ever seen in my life. When we know about a case like this, what do? Well, something doesn't sound right, but we're not going to start poking holes in the narrative until we get the court docs, and we still don't have the court docs. But that didn't stop KUOW and Gustavo Sangrero Alvarez, who is their reporter, and I'm using the air quotes on this one because he didn't do much reporting. He basically just took the outrage from social media and put it into an article. Pregnant Venezuelan woman and her baby detained by federal agents in Seattle's U District. Here's what he writes. After a suspected immigration arrest set off alarms Tuesday afternoon near the University of Washington campus in Seattle, police have confirmed that federal officials made the arrest on a warrant unrelated to immigration. Mayor Katie Wilson later confirmed the arrest was in connection to a criminal warrant. KUOW has learned that the person detained is a pregnant woman from Venezuela. Her 10-month-old baby girl was in the car at the time of the arrest and also taken into custody, according to friends of the detained woman. Videos show the arrest, show armed men in military uniforms, bulletproof vests, helmets, assault-style rifles surrounding the woman while she stands with her hands behind her back. Seattle police confirmed the Department of Homeland Security made the arrest and referred further questions to the agency. The Department of Homeland Security has not responded to her request for comment or explained the charges that led to the arrest. Then they go interviewing friends. We don't know about her and her baby. She dedicated herself to her work, to her fight for her daughter because she's a single mother. We don't know anything about it at all. It's been a day since she moved in here right after she saved enough money to rent her apartment and moved in. And as she's finishing things up, what happens to her? She gets arrested. They won't let us know where she is. Wah. Boo-hoo. Somebody last night, who shall remain nameless, slipped me the court documents in this case. Would you like to know who she actually is?
Sex crimes?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, exactly right. Good throwback there, Zach. Yes, sex crimes for the win. Would you like to know who she actually is? Here we go. Court documents allege she is actually a human trafficker tied to Tren de Aragua, the violent Venezuelan gang. The woman at the center of the controversy, Adriana del Carmen Hernandez, is allegedly involved in a sex trafficking conspiracy tied to Tren de Aragua, a violent transnational gang that the Department of Justice has linked to murder, kidnapping, and the exploitation of vulnerable women. The criminal complaint filed in federal court accuses Hernandez of participating in a coordinated scheme to recruit, exploit women, primarily from Venezuela, for commercial sex acts in cities including New York and Seattle. Prosecutors allege that victims were controlled through force, threats, fraud, and coercion, and that operations functioned as a part of a broader criminal network connected to TDA and its splinter faction, Anti-Tren, which is apparently worse than them. Hernandez is described in court filings as playing an active role in the operation's day-to-day activities. Would you like to know what they list for her? I will tell you what they
Not
list.
really, but yes.
Okay, we're going to do it anyway. Thank you, Zach. Here we go. Helped run a prostitution operation by managing online ads advertising women for sex, communicated directly with clients, arranging encounters, coordinated logistics including directing when and where victims would meet clients, tracked earnings of trafficking victims, keeping financial records and ledgers, handled payments, including through Zelle and Cash App, worked with others in the operation to transport and manage victims across locations and state lines, including to cities like Seattle and New York. She is accused of being involved in recruiting women, not just from Venezuela, forcing or coercing them into a commercial sex work, using threats, violence, and fraud and intimidation to control the victims, and taking the victims' earnings as part of the trafficking enterprise. But she's just a pregnant woman whose kid was taken away from her.
Well, this answers the Greek row thing now, doesn't it?
Actually, all kidding aside for a second, think about this. Why is she on Greek row? Did she move there to blend in with the population? Or is she trying to sucker college kids into being part of her trafficking ring or finding clients there? Either way, this is a horrible thing to have on a college campus, Greek row, right there. And I still don't have an answer to that question. I've reached out to multiple agencies. Was there anything going on Greek row?
And I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But this does make me wonder, is this a one-off?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there a ring? Is there a community?
Right. We don't know. We don't know. Is somebody saying, I want to make extra money in college, so I'm doing this to pay for my UW or graduate degree or whatever the case may be? Or is it worse? Is she there to lure girls? How many girls are missing from University of Washington that we don't know the names of, that maybe hasn't made the news yet? We don't know. Or was she just getting started? Her friends, who lied about everything else, said she just moved into the neighborhood. Is it that HSI stopped her before she was about to start trafficking girls at the University of Washington? You know, I have an interview with the president of University of Washington coming up. This is not the topic of it. You can imagine what the topic that I have to discuss with the president of the
UW
University.
football coaching staff.
That's exactly what's. In fact, that's the first question I'm going to ask. UW football coaching staff. That's exactly what I'm going to ask. But this, I think I'm going to ask offline. Hey, guys, you know anything about this? Because I got the court documents, and it's pretty bad. So wait a second. This leads to a few things. KUOW, sloppy journalism. Is anybody surprised? No. That's why NPR was defunded. KUOW is an outgrowth of NPR. They were just trying to make the narrative. Is anybody surprised by this at all? No, of course not. Okay. But what you're saying is the activists knew what was actually going on or had an inkling something wasn't right and ran with the story anyway. No surprise there. Activists, what fits their narrative, anti-ICE, let's do it. Can we go back and reread Katie Wilson's statement for a minute here? I am aware of the reports from the U District about a woman who was detained by federal authorities and separated from her small child who is currently with CPS. My team has been closely monitoring the situation and has confirmed that she was detained by the Department of Homeland Security on a criminal warrant. To the best of our knowledge, this was not immigration related. I'm grateful for the community members who have been responsive to the immediate aftermath and will continue to work in partnership. First question, how much did Katie Wilson know? You think the mayor of a city doesn't know, especially a mayor like her? Let's say I was the mayor of Seattle. Let's just throw that out there for a second. And there was some case that involved something that was a hot button topic of mine. You think I wouldn't contact the appropriate authorities and say, hey, what happened here? Give us the dirt. Also, you think that they don't inform the jurisdictions they're operating in? Plus, you think she would miss an opportunity to make a huge deal out of a pregnant woman and a child taken from her? But, oh, not just that. Sean Barnes, the police chief, who says he wants his officers to monitor ICE activity. You think both of them wouldn't make a... Why aren't we monitoring the ICE activity? They're here. Where's the Seattle Police Department monitoring the ICE activity? For all we know, SPD got called to the location, was monitoring the activity, and found out they were arresting a TDA gang member, human trafficker. But Katie Wilson still wrote that the woman was separated from her small child, which means you are covering for a Tren-del-Ragua gang member, human trafficker. I'm grateful for the community members who have been responsive in the immediate aftermath and will continue to work in partnership, which means, are you working with Tren-del-Ragua? Or are these just nice neighbors who lived near the lady and didn't know she was a human trafficker?
The way I translate her statement is, hey, this was a false alarm, but nice work, everybody. Keep it up in case of a real ICE arrest.
I see that too. Or I see it as this: we were wrong this time. Same kind of thing. We were wrong this time, but I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time. Like, that's what this reads like. How much did she know? So I have a little plan in the works because I'm me and I do what I do. I would like all communications, filed a public disclosure request. I would like all communications between the mayor's office on this topic. I'm also going to reach out to her office for comment, but given the fact that they haven't gotten back to me on any request for comment since she went into office, I extremely doubt they're going to get back to me on this one. I will say is that a little note was slipped to me today about another possible scandal involving our illustrious mayor that we're investigating right now, and if it's true, I now know why our mayor is covering for fraud. If it's accurate, yeah, this could be, in theory, a bombshell. But you know what? I'm not going live with it because I'm not KUOW right now. See, I have a theory, and I got a tip. But you know what I do? I get the court documents. I get everything else, because if I'm wrong, somebody's going to come after me legally. If I'm wrong, my reputation takes damage. But KUOW, have they even updated the article yet? My post has been out for almost 24 hours at this point. I should send KUOW and the reporter a request for comment and be like, hey, dude, why do you suck at your job? But then when you look at his bio, he wants to suck at his job. Look, are we partisan over here on KVI? Absolutely we are. We are Seattle's conservative talk station, right? That is what we are. That's what we do. But not everything is always what we think it is. I am wrong from time to time, and I go, I bet it's this. I'd say 9 times out of 10, I'm right. Occasionally, I'm wrong. But we don't go with it until we actually have it. Let me read for you that KUOW headline one more time. Pregnant Venezuelan woman and her baby detained by federal agents in Seattle's U District. Yeah, that's what they went with. You know what this should actually read? Tren de Aragua, human trafficker, detained by federal agents in Seattle's U District. But they didn't even bother doing the research. They saw the posts from the activists, and they ran with the story. And now they have egg on their face because they were not just wrong, but very wrong. You want to know how wrong they were? I got some additional court documents slipped to me last night, not just about this case, but about the broader case that the FBI is investigating and the Department of Justice is prosecuting and already has charges up on a whole bunch of people who were involved in this ring as part of drug trafficking, human trafficking, murders. And she's connected to all of it. My question right now is, and this is the one I don't have the answer to, because I know exactly where she was arrested because I'm familiar with Frat Row from my days of property management. She's actually a block away from the frat house I used to manage. I know exactly where this is. Were UW kids ever at risk? Were UW kids drawn into this trafficking? Were UW kids on her target list for human trafficking? And did HSI, Department of Homeland Security, just save the day by stopping this a day after she moved in? Is that actually accurate? Petrifying, the story we could be reporting today. If they had just said, you know what? No one is illegal. No such thing as an illegal person. There's no such thing as borders. Let whoever it is stay in the city. If we went by the Katie Wilson, Bob Ferguson modus operandi, imagine what could have happened on Bob Ferguson's alma mater's campus. Imagine the story we could be telling today instead of the fact that this woman is in custody. Truly horrifying to even think about it. Truly, truly. But that's not the only thing that Turd Ferguson has egg on his face about today. He signed some legislation today banning ICE from wearing masks. Too bad it doesn't actually work legally. I'll tell you about the virtue signaling when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. Everybody's least favorite governor was in town for a press conference today. That's right. Turd Ferguson was in Seattle today. What was Bob Ferguson doing there? I'll tell you, my friends.
Yeah, it's not my name.
All right, Turd Ferguson.
Let me tell you what he was doing in town. He was signing public safety bills. That's what it said in his press release. That's how the news is covering it. Aimed at cracking down on law enforcement impersonation and limiting when officers can conceal their identities. Oh, doesn't that sound noble? Doesn't that sound nice? Okay, I'm going to do two versions of this. One for our older audience, one for our younger audience. Have we had a lot of issues of Dirty Harry's Magnum Force being out there where they're pretending to be cops and they're pulling people over and doing horrible things? I know, it was one of the bad sequels in the Dirty Harry series. I acknowledge that. Have you heard a lot of reports of people impersonating the police? No, haven't heard that at all.
Watch out, DJ Daniel. That kid's going to... That kid's going to get locked up.
Yes, we're going to lock up the 9-year-old with cancer because he's always wearing that police officer's uniform. I think Trump would give him a pardon. Okay, so let's do this for the younger people. Have you seen a lot of issues of let's be cops going on out there? You see any Wayans brothers pretending that they're going to be cops somewhere? No? Okay, good. So what the hell are we talking about here? What it's really about. When can they conceal their identity? You see how the two are related? Well, they're concealing their... And how do you know they're actually ICE? How do you know they're actually police? This is for your safety because they could be pretending to be law enforcement. So he signed the measures at El Centro de la Raza in Seattle, the big Hispanic community center, because it's all about the virtue signaling. So... the one bill, House Bill 2165, creates a new crime targeting people who falsely present themselves as law enforcement officers. Wait a minute, I got an idea. The next time there's a big Antifa action, can we report the guys in the neon vests for pretending to be crossing guards? Can we do... Hey, you guys want to play this game? Let's play this game. The next time Antifa has their bicycles and they're blocking streets, can we go after them for pretending to be bicycle cops? Because... they're impersonating a police officer. You're not allowed to do traffic control. Oh, wait a second. I should not have been as against this bill as I was. I didn't think about all the amazing things we could do with it. This opens up a whole new world of possibilities. Excellent. Okay, then there's the other one. The one which says ICE agents can't wear masks. Senate Bill 5855 restricts law enforcement officers from wearing masks or other face coverings that obscure their identities while interacting with the public. They say it applies to federal, state, and local officers. All right, so number one, here's the first problem. It doesn't apply to federal officers because you have no federal jurisdiction whatsoever, so they could tell you to pound sand. Second of all, it is about as effective as Katie Wilson's signs that say ICE cannot be on our property. By the way, guys, you know the picture of her handing the workman the sign, and him, it's a very heavy metal-looking sign, and he's screwing it in on a pole that says ICE can't operate on these premises by RCW, blah, 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 blah. So I've been to two parks in the past couple of days. I was at one park with Fox News talking about the autonomous zone. I was up at Cal Anderson Park, and I was at another park closer to my house where I was checking on a homeless situation. I've seen these signs. I've not seen these big metal ones. You know what they are? They're stuck in the ground. They're the removable garbage signs. She spent $45,000 on those, plus more, which disrupted the transportation budget. I was joking when I said somebody was going to steal those things in short order. I assumed they were screwed into the poles. They're literally yard signs. I'm not encouraging this. I'm not encouraging this. I'm not encouraging this.
KVI is not encouraging this.
KVI is not doing this. Ari Hoffman is not doing this. But what's to stop anybody from walking along and taking them? Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Some homeless guy is going to, and it's going to be on his tent. And you're going to be walking down the street, and a homeless guy is going to have on his tent, ICE cannot operate on these premises. ICE is forbidden from these premises, because he's going to think that's going to keep him safe. Waste of money. Huge waste of money. But this is also pure virtue signaling when you say, oh, it's going to stop people from wearing masks. It's going to stop ICE agents. It's not. It won't. It can't. So who is it going to stop from doing that? Our local police officers. And let's not forget, during the Summer of Love in 2020, local police officers had activists showing up at their houses, targeting their cars, targeting their families. You've just opened up doxing of every police officer, any law enforcement officer in Washington state. You think anybody's going to want to be a police officer after that? And you guys have a massive recruiting problem. There go Bob Ferguson's promises of recruiting more police officers. It's just not going to happen. And here's something else. The hypocrisy is insane. So you guys also passed a bill which gives Nick Brown basically unlimited powers and allows his lawyers, his investigators, to conceal their identities so they can go after anybody they want. Be it the gun people, be it law enforcement, be it talk radio hosts, whoever it is that Nick Brown is going to go after, for all I know, Zach is lying about what his identity is. He's been playing the long game this whole time.
It's been a brutal mission.
But seriously, you'll have no idea because they're allowed to conceal their identity. But what's funny was the activists are getting everything they want. Literally, everything they want. Anti-ICE, anti-ICE. But while Turd Ferguson was giving his press conference today, he was interrupted. Chris Daniels was there from Como News, got us this video.
DHS out of Washington State! DHS out of Washington!
And that's why I was so pleased to work.
Okay, so what was that? This activist shows up screaming and yelling about the Department of Homeland Security and ICE. Guys wearing a mask. That was my favorite part. So Bob Ferguson is signing legislation to stop people from wearing masks who are law enforcement, but this dude shows up with a mask to conceal his identity. Just making sure he got all this here. The symbolism is crazy of what's going on. And mind you, Bob Ferguson says it's un-American for ICE agents to be arresting illegal aliens. Un-American. The only thing un-American around here are the illegal alien criminals that you have created sanctuary status for in Washington state. You think that's American? Bob Ferguson didn't have an issue with all the people wearing the Hamas keffiyehs covering their faces at the University of Washington or blocking freeways. He didn't care about any of the Antifa activists during the Summer of Love covering their faces. He didn't even care about the warlord of the Autonomous Zone handing out giant AR-15s out of the trunk of his Tesla. Spare me the virtue signaling nonsense. This isn't going to stick. It does nothing. It just makes his activist base happy. Oh, wait, it doesn't, because they still showed up to protest. No matter how far left you aren't far left enough for the far left. You think this is going to be the last time there's a protester at a Turd Ferguson event? I bet you it won't be. And by the way, speaking of the far left, the squad might be in serious, serious trouble, my friends. Are they losing influence after getting absolutely crushed in multiple primaries on Tuesday? Tell you all about it up next. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. When you hear country music, it's not just because young Zach is here this week. No, my friends. It is because we are giving away two tickets to see Aaron Lewis and the Stateliners at the Muckleshoot Event Center on March 24th. Now, all you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is text the word I give you to the number I give you. Don't give us your phone number. Don't give us your address. Don't give us your name. Don't say, Ari, you used to be a really good-looking radio host, but you really need to lose a few pounds. Don't say any of that. Just the word itself. Today's word is away, as in far and away, as in there's something about away with this group, Zach, you might know. I don't know. Does it tie into it that way?
I don't know that one. I was going to say is in take the illegals away.
There you go. That's a good one. Can somebody take Bob Ferguson away in the next election? Maybe something like that. That's very good, Zach. I like that. Text the word away, A-W-A-Y, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757.
No space. One word.
Yes, one word. Away. I shouldn't say away. I should say away. Just
Not a
one
weem away, a weem away.
Very good. Just away. Get them out of here. Absolutely out of here. Like Senator Alyssa Slotkin. Okay. She has an interesting claim that she's making about President Trump. In fact, I heard if you make this claim, you're an election denier. I heard if you make this claim, you are subverting democracy. What is the claim she actually made?
So I would just say if we ever get to the point where you are being asked to put armed ICE officers at polling locations, we have lost the plot as a country. We have fundamentally lost it. And until I hear someone tell me that this man, President Trump, will actually allow us to have a free and fair election, there is zero trust here, and I cannot trust that he won't try and steal it again.
Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Try and steal an election again? What is she talking about?
Another one.
Yeah, no. That's your thing, guys. That's your thing. Or is it just whoever loses now says the other person stole the election because they can't wrap their heads around the fact that somebody won other than them? Also, here's something else. Why are you mad that ICE would be at polling locations if illegals aren't voting? Okay, you want your illegals to stay in the U.S.? Fine. But you say they're not voting. So why do you care if ICE is at the polling locations? Saying the quiet part out loud again. Because the American people, when they see your insanity, they say we're not voting for this. According to Fox News, a trio of progressive Democrats backed by members of the Squad suffered blistering rebukes on Tuesday as Illinois voters rejected them in favor of more moderate candidates, prompting questions from onlookers about whether the party's core and momentum should be entrusted to the far left wing of its base. Now, my problem with this is that you're talking about a few elections in a very, very blue area. And once again, I'm going to use the analogy I use all the time. Anybody who tries to predict elections, it's like looking into a crystal ball that's really, really foggy. Oh, there's a monkey wing. Oh, there's a broom from the witch. Oh, I see a hat. You have no idea what's going to happen. You just see a few things here and there. You can guess, maybe, based on that. I have a Ouija board. If you want to try that, it might be more reliable. So, when you look at this, should the Squad have cause for concern? Maybe. The question is, how much effort did the Squad put in? There are plenty of candidates that I go, hey, I recommend you vote for this person, which I don't really help out that much because I'm not involved in that race or I don't have time to help everybody. Does that mean Ari Hoffman took a personal loss because I recommended this candidate? No, it just means that was the one I thought was best for the job. And that doesn't mean it's a personal loss. Was the Squad actively raising money for these, or did they assume they're blue districts? We're going to be good either way, so it doesn't cost me anything to put my name on it. Or did they assume, well, they're very, very blue. I'm not going to spend the money in this area because I assume the lefties got it. Everybody jumping on this to say the Squad's losing power or the Democrats are losing momentum or the far left is losing momentum. No, guys. No. For what's going on in the country, if you want to win, there's two things you need. You ready for this? You need to make sure that people do not think you're the crazy party, and you need to worry about the economy. And right now, us Republicans, we're losing on the economy. We are losing big time on the economy. Look, I'm big on this war in Iran. I think we're doing all the right things. But the fact that we haven't cleared the Strait of Hormuz or we didn't do it right away, we knew this was going to happen. It has happened before. I don't know why we waited so long on this, and this may end up costing President Trump the election. He's doing the right thing, but the Strait issue, somebody should have dealt with that originally. Now, there's good news out of Washington, D.C. today. Why? Because President Trump actually got his allies to come along, Germany, Japan, other countries, come along and help clear the Strait. However, this did lead to President Trump's best comment to date. This is actually my favorite moment of President Trump's so far in all the years he's been in political office. He is sitting next to the Prime Minister of Japan. They are in town, they're having meetings, and the media is asking questions about Iran. This is possibly the best moment of President Trump's career.
Of course, no, Japan and US are very good friends. But one question, why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing, you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right?
Boom. Roasted, right? I mean, that has got to be his best line ever. And
Roasted.
exactly. That's got to be his best line ever. That's my favorite. Zach, are you just hearing that for the first time?
Yeah. That's incredible.
That's what you're sitting next to the Japanese Prime Minister and you say, why didn't you tell us about Pearl Harbor?
Leave it to a fat man to say that, huh?
Which is just amazing. Absolutely great. Oh, fantastic. You know, it's not great, though. Here's the problem. Coming up next, we have a really, really horrible story involving what somebody who's in charge of children in our area did to an infant. This is probably the worst story we've ever done on the show. We're going to tell you all about it when we come back, so you can be warned. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Okay. I say this a lot because some of these stories we do are really, really graphic. If you have a kid in the car right now, make sure they have headphones and they're on a tablet and they are not listening to the story. Because I have to be so careful in the way I do it, because if I describe certain actions in the story, the FCC can hit me. It's not just the 7 deadly words. So I got to be super, super careful with this story. I'm going to read it from the Post-Millennial. This is their text of it. A trans-identifying homeless man has been arrested and charged with the rape of an infant in Washington state. Isabel Izzy Kelso Fleury IV, born as William, 25, of Tacoma, was taken into custody by the FBI's Missing and Exploited Children's Task Force on March 5th. He is being held in jail on a $1 million bail. Fleury, a former employee at a homeless shelter for juveniles, was allegedly featured in a photograph doing what he was doing to the child. It is too graphic. Too graphic. The Tacoma Police Department had received a Priority 1 level cyber tip from Google describing the image of what the adult man was doing. It was that bad. It was that bad. Investigators identified Fleury through this as the suspect and by tracking his IP address associated with the account, which is, this whole thing is just disturbing on so many different levels. Now, what's more messed up about this story was featured in the mainstream media here in Seattle. And you want to know why that's so messed up? They keep calling this dude she, her, this woman. There's a picture here of the suspect in question. Dude, you ain't fooling anybody. He's got more facial hair than I do. Putting on a dress does not make you a girl. And what you did to a baby, allegedly, even though there's pictures of it, is sick. Truly sick. It's the fact that this person was working with juveniles also. The whole thing is sick. Authorities identified the victim, made contact with the victim's parents, who are also homeless. The infant's father informed detectives that they had invited Fleury to live in their motel room to assist with babysitting their children while he and his wife worked. The father told police he believes the incident occurred sometime in 2023. Additionally, the report states that Fleury had access to the infant victim's 2 other siblings, also children at the time, and they are investigating if anything happened to those kids. Tacoma police said, I spoke with the lead detective. He is actively investigating the case, continuing to run down all leads, including reviewing locations where the arrestee may have prior history. Fleury pleaded not guilty to charges including first-degree rape of a child, sexual exploitation of a minor during his initial arraignment last week. This is not the first time he's been in investigation in Washington state. In 2025, he was charged in a separate case with possession of depictions of children engaged in this kind of activity. They located it on his Google Drive. And yet this person's allowed to be in the same motel homeless complex as families with children? This is an indictment on so many different levels of so many things that are wrong with our system around here. This is a guy who claims to be a youth advocate on his social media accounts. He previously volunteered with the Reach Center's Youth Action Board in Tacoma, which is a youth group for people experiencing homelessness and is part of Homeless Inc. They're one of the worst that gets tons of government funding and accomplishes absolutely nothing, and clearly aren't even doing background checks on people like this. Carlos Garcia, director of the youth group, told News Tribune that Fleury has not been involved with the board since October of 2023 and served only as a volunteer. Authorities are finding out if there are any other victims at the facility. What happens when you have a low-barrier shelter, a low-barrier encampment, a low-barrier hotel where you're not checking warrants, where you're not checking criminal history? Predators like this are going to be there. Here's something else. I don't fault the victims as much as I should be in this case, but if you're homeless and living in a homeless hotel, you think there aren't going to be seedy individuals around and you still have your kids there? You don't have relatives you can send them to? I understand you don't want to put them in foster care. You don't have relatives you can send them to? Nobody? You keep the kids with you? I know it sucks. I know it hurts. But if you're working to get your lives back together, also you trust a random dude in a dress who's got facial hair to watch your kids? Where is CPS for any of this? No kids should be in homeless shelters. And yet around here, no problem. We'll put them right there next to the known sex offender who went on to sexually violate an infant. An infant. Are you kidding me with this nonsense? You know, what's worse is soon you may not even be able to know if these people have a criminal background, if these people have a criminal history, even what gender they actually are when they were born. Turd Ferguson signed a bill the other day allowing Washingtonians to change their sex designation on their state IDs and birth certificates while simultaneously ensuring those changes are excluded from public records and sealed for disclosure. So you may not know anything about any of these people. Thanks to Substitute Senate Bill 6081, not only can individuals alter the sex marker on official documents, but the state is required to erase any indication that a change ever occurred. Watch, next session, you know what there's going to be? A penalty if you refer to them by their dead name, as they call it. Just watch. That's what's coming next. You think this session was bad? Look at all the stuff they did. Imagine what the next session is going to be. Sick. Truly sick. Up next, I want to put a smile on your face. So I did some research into that Elk Bridge crossing after the spirited texts we got yesterday, and holy cow, I found a mountain of waste here in Washington. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, holy cow, the amount of crime in Seattle is skyrocketing while they say it's going down. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it is time for your chance to have your bills paid by Beyonce. No, by have your bills paid by us. Your chance to win $2,000 in cold hard cash from us here at KVI and everybody else in our cluster. So what we are doing today is if you text the word that I give you to the number that I give you, you get entered for your chance to win $2,000. So today's word is gold, as in solid gold. Text the word gold, G-O-L-D, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Do not text it more than once. Only text it once. You have until 4:30 to enter the word today. Some of you waited until 5 o'clock yesterday. You said, how come it's not going through? Because you waited till 5 o'clock. You have until 4:30 to text the word gold to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Not 4:30 Hawaii time. 4:30 Pacific time. Our time zone right here. Okay. Good luck. Best of luck to all of you. And then if you win, you tell us what you're spending it on. My guess would be gas. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier today, Bob Ferguson was in town in Seattle today. So Turd Ferguson was doing this press conference on what's going on with the bills that he's signing, which are basically helping illegal aliens and attacking ICE. Well, what's interesting is that Chris Daniels was there, and he was covering the event. Good on him. He got the video of the protester. Wonderful. Good. Fantastic. But in usual Click Daniels fashion, he's only got one subject on his mind. It's not the protesters. It's not the politics. Are the Sonics coming back? Zach, can you play that clip for us of his little interaction?
Tell him as it pertains to the millionaire's tax and how that may factor in. I know there's a lot of people who are concerned that may somehow blunt the return of the Sonics.
Well, we lost the Sonics to a state that has an income tax, and we did not at the time. Steph Curry's paid a lot of money in California, and they have a pretty hefty income tax. So, candidly, I just don't think that's got anything to do with anything. But if he brings it up, of course, we'll talk about it.
Okay. You don't think it's got anything to do with anything? Need I remind everybody about the documents that we obtained exclusively here on the Ari Hoffman Show from Turd Ferguson's office about his last meeting with Adam Silver? What was the meeting about? Whether or not the Sonics are coming back to Seattle. What were the concerns that the owner of the Kraken told Turd Ferguson's team that the NBA was concerned about, because they all talk to each other? It was the income tax. On the piece of paper, it says the millionaire tax right there. But he doesn't think it's going to come up? Okay, there's only two possibilities.
What else do they have to talk about?
Right, exactly.
Hey, Bob, you think they want him back?
Yeah, right.
I'm just not sure.
You're not asking about that,
You're
right?
a man of the people.
Yeah, because I'm sure he would know. Well, I played basketball when I was a kid. Okay, we all played basketball when we were kids. I went to the Sonics when I was a kid. Okay, we all went to basketball games when we were kids.
Bob grew up a Storm fan.
Yeah, you know what? He probably was the Storm even around back then. He's older than me. Probably not. Okay. I mean, the WA didn't become a thing until I think I was in late high school, early college, and Bob's older than me. Anywho, so what are they going to talk about? Let's be real about this. The only things they could talk about, permits, that's not his problem. That's the local problem. Maybe some tax exemptions. Otherwise, what do you have to talk to the governor about? Why are you talking to the governor at all? He already said, I'm in for it. We'll do whatever we can to help you. So, of course, it's going to be like, I wonder if this is the conversation. Bob, we told you if you pass this tax, it's going to make things more difficult to bring the Sonics to town. And you went ahead and passed the tax. What are we supposed to do now? That's one way. Or here's the other way. Bob, we told you this was a problem. What exemptions are you going to give us? What land are you going to give us? We want that practice facility. You think you can lean on Katie Wilson to give us part of that Northgate area for the practice facility for us? Better yet, what taxpayer-funded subsidies can you give us for the practice stadium? Don't worry, my friends. Just like last time, I'll fill out a public disclosure request, and I'll get the documents of this meeting, too. Because I want to know exactly what Turd Ferguson is talking about here and what's being done with our taxpayer dollars. Crazy stuff. Meanwhile, switching gears entirely over here. I don't know if you guys saw this. This one just cracked me up. So got to get in the mood for this. Here we go. Get the right music going for this one. Oh, I miss that song so much. This was every afternoon of childhood when the show went into syndication. Start your slow motion running. Here we go. Baywatch, baby. That's right. Love that song. Love that stupid show for all the right reasons. So, Baywatch star Alexandra Paul was arrested for trespassing after attempting to free dozens of beagles during an animal rights protest in Wisconsin. Did you guys hear about this? They're trying to save some dogs. I don't think Fauci was experimenting on these dogs. No, he wasn't involved. He's out of the game. According to a press release obtained by Fox News Digital, Dane County Sheriff's deputies respond to a trespassing call at Ridgeland Farms in the town of Blue Mounds on March 15th. Paul was reportedly among 50 to 60 protesters who broke into the facility and began removing numerous dogs from the farm, a large dog breeding facility that conducts scientific research on dogs. Approximately 20 people were arrested, including Paul. If you don't know who she is from Baywatch, okay, how do I describe who she is? There was the Pamela Anderson types. There were the Carmen Electra types. And then there's the one who actually looks like a lifeguard and can actually save you and actually, like, help you out. That was Alexandra Paul.
No honka necessary?
No, not this one. She looks like, oh, you're an actual lifeguard. You may have actually done this in high school. You may have been a swimmer or something. You don't need the extra buoyancy that the other ones do. You don't need that. So, anywho, that's who Alexandra Paul is.
Were they arrested by the Great Dane County Sheriff?
That's good.
Or just the Dane County Sheriffs?
Very good, very good. So they're there to save these animals. Lovely, fantastic, wonderful. And that got me thinking of our story yesterday. In fact, I almost forgot to do the research that you guys asked me to do yesterday. So just to recap, yesterday we're telling the story about this $114 million boondoggle in California. What is it? They built a highway crossing for animals, but it actually doesn't go anywhere, and it's for butterflies. Butterflies fly. They don't need to land on a freeway somewhere. They can fly over the freeway, assuming they don't end up on somebody's windshield while they're going across. But you made this thing for cougars and butterflies to better traverse the freeways in California. Spent $114 million on the thing. It's not done. It started as a $50 million project, then became a $60 million project. Now it's up to a $114 million project, and it's still not finished. Chris Rufo from City Journal and the Department of Education had this video of Beth Pratt, who is the director of the project. Now, mind you, when you look at Beth Pratt, she looks like the person who'd be director of a project like this, and I don't mean in a good way. Clearly not on Baywatch, this one. Beth Pratt. This is her talking about her $114 million boondoggle.
When we started stage one and we're waiting to start stage two, the world changed beneath us, though. This spring, construction costs increased considerably. And although we were holding reserves to finish construction, all those are exhausted at this point because of tariffs, inflation, and so many other factors impacting construction projects, not just ours. So we need your help one more time to get us to the finish line and help us build back those reserves so that we can ensure that we finalize construction by November, so we can all cut that ribbon together. What a moment that will be. And like you, I can't wait to see that first mountain lion cross. The promise to P22 will be fulfilled, and the Santa Monica Mountain wildlife will have a future because of all of you. Please donate today to Save LA Cougars, and we're going to complete this together, this dream that we started. Thank you for being a part of it.
Let me start by saying this. The LA Cougars do not need your donations, okay? They are fine. They can go shopping without you. They can get all the plastic surgery without. They do not need your donations. But after $114 million, how much more money do you need to finish this bridge to nowhere? Now, yesterday when we did this story, the text line lit up. Tons of texts of people saying, Ari, don't you know we have one of these things here? And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And they said, yeah, it's up in Snoqualmie. And I said, are you serious? And they said, Ari, it's not just one overpass. It's a series of overpasses. So I did a little bit of looking. One person even texted, how do you not know there's a webcam of these things? I'm like, there's a website with a webcam where you can watch the animals crossing the freeway?
Well, no, it's pretty much just a still image.
Oh, okay.
You can watch the cars go under it.
Right. That's okay. So me, I'm not from here. I lived here for 22 years. Now, to tell you about me and not paying attention to the world, I used to drive my kids to Snoqualmie every single Sunday for ski lessons when they were little. We would go up there, and I would see these things. Now that I saw what they are online, I'm like, oh, that's what that is, because I couldn't figure out why you had these overpasses and no cars are ever on them. I didn't know they were for the animals. Do you know we spent $80 million on this highway system for the animals? Oh, yeah. So the Snoqualmie Pass corridor now includes dozens of wildlife crossings, bridges, underpasses, and tunnels spread across 15 miles of the interstate. Now, this is where my radar went up, and they said, we did it for $6 million. No, you didn't. But then some people said, Ari, they spent $1 billion on this. That's not true either. Actually went through the records. So the $1 billion was to redo all the freeways, all the stuff that went to the freeways. But as part of it, they spent $80 million on the animal crossings. One overpass could cost $6 million. I guess when you look at California and that they blew $114 million on just one of these things, and it's not done yet, we got a steal of a deal at a time. A craziness. So here's what it is. Take one $6 million overpass, add in the dozens of smaller crossings, factor in fencing, design, habitat work. You're in the range of $35 million to $80 million just on the animal crossings alone. And this was all folded into a highway project that everybody assumed infrastructure, right? Infrastructure. It was sold as one big project. The spending was spread across phases, funding packages, integrated design. Phase 1 here, phase 2 there, a bridge added later, a few more underpasses. Hey, this sounds like the bike lane debacle around here. Each piece sounds reasonable because you go, oh, something nice for the animals while we're building the freeway, until you realize how much it went together. So you would say, oh, maybe it's about avoiding collisions, trying to keep the deer off the freeways. And as somebody who almost hit a deer one time badly, oh, this is all kinds of bad. I can't believe I'm admitting this on air. So I'm driving back from one of those conventions for the youth group I used to run, but this was back when I was one of the students in the youth group. So I'm driving back, and I've got my 86 Camaro, but it's 1999. Let's just start right there. This thing is not in the best shape. The 80s years of the Camaro, not great years. I have 8 people in it and their luggage. You're going to go, how'd you get 8 people in a Camaro?
And it's all in it?
It's all in it.
Okay.
All in it. Exactly. All right? I got you. So we're in the Camaro. I've got myself up front. That's number 1. No, I take it back. Sorry, not 8. 7. 7 people in the Camaro.
Oh, well, that's spacious.
Totally able to
How
do
many? How many seat belts?
Okay, so there are 4 seatbelts and 3 of them worked. Okay, so let's factor that in too. So I'm driving and I got all the space in the world. And don't forget, the Camaro only has 4 seats and the transmission shaft running up the back of the hump. I don't know. I'm sure it has a technical name, but we just said, who has to sit on the hump today? Okay. So you've got 4 people in back, 2 people in the passenger seat, and me, plus the luggage. Now, that was a hatchback, so for sure I couldn't see anything out the back because the luggage was everywhere, but also it was across everybody's laps wherever they're sitting. Yes, we do this. So I'm kind of tired. It's been a long weekend, and I'm following another car back because these were in the days of the GPS. So I'm following back the staff member who's driving back. By the way, yes, the staff member didn't say a word because this was the 90s, and you could do this stuff, and nobody's going to say anything. So I'm following the staff member back, and I see it zigzag in the middle of the freeway. And I go, is he just screwing around or maybe I should follow him? You know what? I'm tired. Let's just do what he did. I zigzagged, and as I'm passing by, I realized there was a giant elk in the middle of the highway. And if I hadn't zigzagged, I would have plowed right into that sucker. So, thank God for that with all 7 people.
What a news story. That 7 dead after Camaro hits an elk. Like, huh? 7?
7. How'd you get
Did
7
they include
in
the elk?
Camaro? Right, exactly. So that was me in the Camaro. I will just say my driving has not improved. I mean, my safety caution.
Sounds like my brother-in-law's bachelor party. We were, we had 2 cars. One of them broke down. So then I had driven over after the morning show at the time, and we had squeezed 5 people into my Lexus SC430.
Yes.
Which is a very tiny coupe. And I mean, very tiny.
It's smaller than the Camaro. I think you had more space on the Camaro probably.
And nowadays, I'm like, I don't want to get pulled over at all. So I was like, we are putting this top up. It's convertible. So, I'm not risking like just a bunch of heads sitting out. And someone's not buckled in. So it's really unsafe to be in a convertible not buckled in.
Oh, my God. Somebody would have gone through the windshield. No, wait, the luggage would have been on their lap. So maybe they wouldn't have gone through the
Would have been like
windshield.
an airbag.
Yeah. And there were no airbags on my 86 Camaro. And I will say something else about my 86 Camaro. It was not in the best shape. I think I bought it 3rd or 4th hand. It was not in good shape.
Not what the punk rockers would call a bitchin' Camaro?
No, definitely not. I bitched at my Camaro. I will say more than bitch in Camaro. But yeah, it was not in good shape. But yeah, it's a good idea to keep the elk off the freeway. Has this cut down on elk going across the freeway? I actually looked up the stats, by the way. No. Do you know why? Because animals are still animals and they don't know there's a highway for them. So if they want to wander on the freeway, is there fencing? Sure, they still find ways around it. My father-in-law likes to tell a story about how when he was driving one day, he hit a big deer and pulled over on the side of the road trying to figure out what to do. And some dude comes up and goes, "You want that?" And he goes, "No." And the guy just takes it, throws it on his car, and drives away with the giant deer. So I still see roadkill all the time, but they dropped $80 million minimum by my math on this sucker. So for all of you who said, Ari, how do you not know about this thing? Yes, I went home. Yes, I looked it up. Yes, I did the research on this sucker. And if only the Ari Hoffman show had been on air back then, we would have criticized it as much as we criticized the California one, given how crazy this government spending is. You know what it reminded me of? Do you know there is a thing in Seattle that if you do a big project in Seattle, a building or something, a certain amount of money has to be reserved as public art. Do you know this? Public art. So, for example, you know the big bridge that the Flight Museum built over the street there to go from one side to the other? That was part of their public art, but they were a little short on money. So, you know when you walk through the tunnel, it's playing music at you sometimes? Something like 2001: A Space Odyssey or the theme from Apollo 13 or whatever it is when you're walking through there. They counted that as art. So the sound system money was now the art money they spent on that thing for the public art. And you wonder why things are so expensive to build around here in our little corner of Shangri-La. Probably because things are so expensive around here because of stupid things like public art. If somebody wants to do art, it's fine. But look, is the art even safe around here? I had a report the other day, and I actually got this from the Seattle Police Department. One of the buildings right near I-5, I saw this on the police scanner, and then I had to get the police report. It says, man walking away with American flag wrapped around his neck after burning flag. I'm like, wait, hang on. A whole bunch of stuff doesn't make sense here. Turns out some homeless guy who's a prolific offender walked over to some building with their public art being 3 flagpoles, one of which is the American flag, one of which is the Washington State flag, took down the Washington State flag, lit it on fire, then took the American flag, wrapped himself in it, and walked away with it. Just another day in Seattle, wouldn't you say? Well, the animals in California isn't the only fraud, isn't the only scandal going on down there. When we come back, my friends, James O'Keefe with a massive expose on voter fraud in California. And when you hear it, you're going to say, I bet this is happening in Washington too. Give you all details. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. James O'Keefe does undercover investigative journalism. He's the guy who always gets the videos of them exposing something about CNN or MSNBC or whistleblowers about the vaccine. You name it, he gets an expose on it. So his new thing is voter fraud. James O'Keefe went down to L.A., and he dressed as a homeless guy, a homeless drug addict. Now, what's kind of funny, his costume, I don't know why, Zach, you're going to make fun of me about this. Free association. Zach was really big on buying movie props. He likes buying movie props and selling them on the internet. That's his hobby. Likes doing that, right?
Yeah, definitely more buying than selling these days, but
Okay.
I'll make you a deal on some stuff.
I'm sure you will. So I don't know why. They don't look anything alike. They don't. But his outfit kind of reminds me of the one you got from the Grinch. I don't know why. It just does that.
Just
that
kind of
costume.
baggy and lopsided.
In my mind, I don't know why my brain immediately went to that. Maybe it's because we've been working together all week, but I'm like, I don't know why. It kind of like free thought association.
That was the most expensive piece of clothing to ever grace my body.
Well, after you sold it, it was.
Well,
that's
yeah.
for sure. Anywho, so James O'Keefe.
Anywho.
I see what you did
that's a
there.
good Grinch joke there.
That's right. So Zach buys this costume. Anyway, James O'Keefe is undercover as a homeless drug addict, and he's got a limp with him as he's walking. Did a really good job. And what does he find out in the video? The audio isn't so great. It's the video that has the impact. And I'll make sure to link it up on my social medias. Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram, The Hofffather over on X. So James O'Keefe is walking around L.A., and there are these people collecting signatures. And while they're collecting signatures for initiatives, they're basically bribing the homeless people to fill out the initiative. They're paying them. In fact, in one case, they pay the guy with marijuana. Some of them are getting paid in cash. Some of them are getting paid in drugs to sign the initiatives. Now, you may think to yourself, it's a homeless person. What form of ID do they have? How do you know who they are? They are also registering them on the spot. Now, this is months before the election. The election isn't until November. What do you think they're going to find out when it's right before the midterms and they're trying to do these shenanigans? You think it's just about this? Paying somebody to fill out an initiative form is illegal. Super illegal. Very illegal. Incentivizing them to register. All of this is illegal, not just according to California law, but also according to federal law, all the things they're doing here. Super, super illegal. He documented in this video 28 instances of individuals offering money, cigarettes, or marijuana to homeless people on Skid Row in exchange for signing petitions or registering to vote. Do you know the worst part about this? The cops are across the street watching. And they even say in the video, yeah, we saw them fill out some forms, but, that's a civil matter. It's not criminal. They don't even know, or they're playing dumb. They're not doing anything about it at all. You think this isn't happening here in Seattle? Made me think of a public disclosure request I did ages ago. When I ran for Seattle City Council, after you lose an election, you take it personally. It's like you just lost a popularity contest and nobody likes you. And for a guy with a massive ego like me, that's hard to take. So what happens? I lose the election and I start getting a little manic, I'd say. Why did I lose? Must have been voter fraud.
You.
I know.
Manic?
Shock.
Never.
I get all worked up. I got all upset. How did I lose? How did this happen? It must be voter fraud. Now, this was back in 2019. So this is before all the real fun. What's really going on here? So I start filing public disclosure requests. And I go, it was the homeless. The homeless voted. That's what happened. It must be the homeless. Every public disclosure request I got back, I analyzed for my district. And what it showed was there were tons of homeless registered. It did not show them returning the ballots. So a lot of these ballots went out, and my specific district, I think it had 5,000 people living at these addresses, between these different addresses in my area, where there were a lot of homeless shelters. But I think only like 100 or 200 ballots actually came back. Now, I haven't revisited those numbers in a very long time. I would love to take my old research and give it to somebody like Andrea Suarez or Jonathan Cho and say, hey, guys, you want to go find out what the story is with these places now? Because back then, They didn't have it down to a fine science as they do now. And back then, you couldn't print out the registration. You couldn't print out the ballots. That's all relatively new. So I would love to know what shenanigans are going on now. Do you guys think that the homeless are voting? Do you think they're being bribed to vote? Do you think somebody's just taking their ballots and filling them out? Do you think they're requesting ballots for people who don't exist? I think they are. Because as we know, my wife, her information has been wrong on her ballot, and we have tried to correct it for basically 15 years. My son was able to register to vote online without ever producing any form of ID whatsoever. Why do I pick those two specific instances? One, because I can verify them and I know both of them are true. Two, both of them would have been corrected with voter ID. Both of them would be. And yet the Democrats refuse to do it. Absolutely refuse. And I think the Republican bill is going to fail. So what's the solution? I actually think Republicans should take the out offered by John Fetterman. I think they should do a clean vote on the SAVE Act, just about the voter ID, take everything else out. I'm not saying it's not important, but you do the up and down vote just on voter ID, like John Fetterman suggested. And I actually think that's going to be great. I think you will find out in that moment, Democrats don't want voter ID whatsoever. I actually think it'll play better for the Republicans going into the election, because right now the Democrats can say, well, there's all this other stuff in the bill. Take John Fetterman up on his offer. Look, try to get the SAVE Act passed. When that fails, do a clean up and down on just voter ID, just requiring that, and watch them lose their minds. I think it'll be worth it. You agree with me? You disagree with me? Give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. More teachers exposed as predators in our very own Washington state. We'll tell you if it's at your kid's school when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Okay, this is another teacher behaving badly story. So if you got the kids in the car, I figure it's after dismissal time. You may not have as much of a problem. So if you got the kids in the car, you got to earmuff it for a second here. This one, we're going to take this right out of the headlines because it's so bad, even the lamestream media couldn't screw this one up. A Washington elementary school is at the center of a disturbing investigation after a special education teacher was accused of repeatedly inappropriate conduct involving a student. Mahalia Benavides, 32, is facing multiple charges, including child rape, child molestation, according to court documents. His plea is not guilty. According to the court documents, she did this to a 10-year-old student in a classroom at Stevens Elementary School in Spokane, Washington. According to the facts reviewed by People Magazine. That's right, this is from People Magazine. The student told investigators that it happened frequently, sometimes as much as 5 times a day. The report claims the alleged encounters occurred both in the main classroom and a smaller adjacent room. Police say they also recovered videos from her phone showing it. Investigators say the student also alleged that the teacher warned him not to tell anybody, saying she could lose her job or get into trouble. The child reportedly told authorities that she sometimes gave him brownies. The teacher was arrested, remains in custody at the Spokane County Jail. Good thing is they say swift action by the school district prevented this from getting worse. Quote, Spokane School District 81 acted quickly once this information was brought to their attention, promptly separating the teacher from the child and further school access and calling police. The Spokane Police Department said in a press release that the school district's swift actions and cooperation played a vital role in this investigation and prevented further harm. Her bond was set at $500,000, and her trial is set for May. This is just horrible. Apparently, a lot of this happened in what was called the timeout room. That's the adjacent classroom. And making this even worse is apparently it happened in front of other students. This is twisted. This is sick, absolutely sick. But predators go where there are prey. Now, I find her name interesting. Am I racial profiling? You betcha. Now that we have the details and the court documents on this case, which I cannot read on air, you bet I am going to be reaching out to my friends at ICE and find out if the school district hired somebody they shouldn't have to be working in this school. That's not the only predator that's around. This one here from the Post-Millennial. A former Oregon principal who had been suspended for comments he made about Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk in the wake of his assassination has been sentenced to 5 years and 1 month in prison, not for the comments he made about Charlie Kirk, but for possession and sharing of child sex abuse images. 50-year-old Jeremy P. Williams of Longview, Washington, who had served as the principal for Rainier Junior and Senior High School in Oregon between 2022 and his retirement in November of 2025. He had been arrested on September 16th. So this was a person who lived in Washington, worked in Oregon, and this school district has already had tons of problems. This is just another one on the list. At the time of his arrest, Williams had already been on paid administrative leave for making negative comments about slain conservative activist Charlie Kirk, according to the Oregonian. He initially faced 13 charges in the case, but pleaded guilty in January to 3 counts of possession of depictions of minors engaged in not great stuff as part of a plea deal with the prosecutors. Cowlitz County Superior Court Judge Thad Scudder sentenced Williams to 61 months in prison, required that he register as a sex offender for the next 15 years, and serve 36 months of community custody after his prison sentence. Williams was also ordered to pay $3,000 in court fees. Should be paying all the legal fees for the case, and you only have to be a sex offender for 15 years? Why do these things expire? We know that people who are convicted of these crimes are likely to re-offend again. A pre-sentencing investigation report stated that Williams had told authorities he sought out online communities to make connections through writing erotica that featured children, just because he's been having difficulties at work at home. You know what? We all have difficulties at work and home. It doesn't mean we go out and start doing this. This eventually turned into sharing explicit images of minors. Williams said in a February 4th interview that writing these short stories made him feel popular and powerful because he could provide what online people were seeking. Okay, I post stuff on social media. My brain has never gone to, let's post this stuff on social media. He even said his pieces won a few competitions. There are competitions for this garbage? Okay, why haven't we arrested the people running the competitions for this? I have many questions. What organizations are running the competitions, and when are they going to be indicted? A woman had reached out to him online to role play and write stories for her, and eventually was sharing real-life images with him. It turned into the two of them sharing images with each other. He admitted to authorities he shared images which included something happening to a 6-month-old baby. And no, it's not the same case we discussed earlier in the show. There is a true mental health sickness around here. There is a true lack of willingness around here to prosecute people and hold them accountable for the insanity that they do. Would you like to hear what he blamed this on? Not just for the fact that he wanted to feel powerful. You ready for this one? Said he had endured religious trauma due to being raised Christian. That's it? That's it. Just being raised Christian. That's it. He was told that if he did anything bad or had bad thoughts, he would go to hell. So then you acted out like this? I mean, my parents kind of told me the Jewish version of that, but I didn't act out and do any of this. This is bonkers crazy. Predators go where there is prey. And the question is, are we going to start doing better background checks around here? Are we going to start holding these people accountable? I'm shocked this guy is going to jail. It's shorter than the amount of time. I think, I quote Tosh Poino, who used to have a great line about this. Tosh said, I thought we had a deal where sex offenders just go in the woods and kill themselves. that was what he said about this. By the way, somebody sent me over on the Warrior Injury Law text line. Where is this one here? Go back a few pages of text here. Where was this here? Governor Brad Little of Idaho issued an expanded statement today on his signing of House Bill 380 last week, allowing the death penalty for pedophiles charged with aggravated lewd conduct with children 12 and younger and strengthening punishments for other convicted pedophiles. Just like capital murder destroys lives, aggravated sexual abuse of a young child devastates victims and families for generations. I don't disagree, by the way. Thank you, the 253, for sending that one over. That's a good tip. I didn't even know that had gone in there. So I'm going to make sure that I do the research tonight on that bill so we can talk about it more tomorrow. What we're going to talk about next, though, my friends, is there was apparently a homicide outside my old bank, and nobody realized it for hours in Georgetown this morning. Tell you all about what this person found when they went to the drive-thru. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Don't forget at 5:30 tomorrow, Lars Larson will be joining us for Lars Unleashed. Actually, we're going to be talking about the bridge, which now Turd Ferguson wants to spend a whole bunch of your taxpayer money on, even though this thing has been an absolute bureaucratic hell for ages and ages and ages. So, saw this story here, and this one kind of gave me the giggles a little bit. A suspect has been arrested for trying to break into a police department here in Seattle. Talk about stupid criminals. So, those of you who've seen a police department before, you know there's usually cop cars around, and what's inside a police department? Oh, right, police officers. And as low staffing as we might be at, how stupid are you to try to break into the Seattle Police Department's West Precinct?
I don't play a lot of Grand Theft Auto, but that feels like a 5 stars.
That's exactly right. At approximately 10 p.m. last night, officers received reports of a suspicious person attempting to break into the West Precinct. Officers within the building could see the suspect holding what appeared to be a firearm as he was circling around the block, around the precinct on foot. If you don't know, the West Precinct is the one smack dab in the middle of downtown. Okay, if you're going to break into a police precinct, why would you go for the one downtown where there's likely to be people as opposed to one that's out in the middle of nowhere where maybe they're off for the night?
What's the end game?
Yeah.
I made it into jail.
I want the donuts. He wants the free housing. Oh, you can get that anywhere in Seattle. Just wants 3 hots and a cot, right? That's what he's looking for. Officers gathered together and exited the facility to make contact with the suspect, who they believe to be armed. When the suspect saw officers, he attempted to hide behind a parked car. This reminds me of that old lame joke. Your mama's so stupid she got hit by a parked car. I don't know why that one just popped into my mind, but it did. After he realized he had been spotted by officers, he walked away from them. Police told the suspect to stop, but he occasionally turned around and continued walking away. This doesn't sound like a person in his right mental state. After walking roughly 4 blocks away, the man complied with officers' commands and lay on the ground. Officers took the suspect into custody and found a stun gun type laser in one of his pockets. Is that a stun gun? You're just happy to see me. An SPD investigation revealed that the suspect was attempting to gain entry to the precinct, holding the taser like a firearm. Hey, cops, let me in or I'm gonna shoot the bulletproof glass of your window here. The suspect's vehicle was also located. That was the most surprising part of the story to me, not the rest of this, but that the person had a vehicle parked near the precinct with a knife in view. Was it an RV? They're not very detailed about this. Officers contacted the suspect's father, discovered that the man was in crisis, believing officers were out to get him and controlling him with energy weapons. Somebody's been watching too much Star Trek. The suspect was ultimately booked into the King County Jail and has since been referred to Seattle's mental health court, where they will likely release the person so he can do this again. Yes? Isn't that how this normally shakes out? We have a massive crisis on our streets, and it is not what the media tells you. It's not about this. Odds are this person has a drug problem, a mental health problem, and they are not going to get the help that they need. Is anybody surprised by this at all? No, of course not. Why would you be surprised by this? Now, there's another story, and the headline is what grabbed me here, okay? The headline is from Como News. Tip led to Seattle police to where missing person's body was found in Georgetown. Okay. A tip. Interesting. They were found in a bank parking lot. Now, mind you, this actually happens to be a bank I used to go to. I used to bank with Bank of America. I don't anymore. This used to be the branch I went to in Georgetown when my offices were in Georgetown, and I would go on over there. The thing I know about this facility, shall we say, is that when you go to the drive-thru, you have to go around the building, and the body was found in the back. But then again, I also know that area is filled with homeless people. I also know that across the street is one of the Homeless Inc. buildings, facilities over there. I'm just going to read from the Como News story because this one is fascinating. Seattle police are investigating a reported homicide after a body was found Thursday on the 1000 block of South Bailey Street. Officers were seen moving behind a Bank of America building where they closed off part of the area and erected a tent as the investigation continued. A tent that's legally permitted to be in the area.
I'm so sorry for what I'm about to say.
Yes.
Did he suffer from withdrawals?
Oh, no. Bad Zach.
I will submit my resignation.
Bad Zach.
I'm
No,
so
no, no.
sorry.
You get to do that here. We do that here on this show. This you can do here. It's a safe space. Police said the case began as a missing persons investigation, but detectives received a tip that the person was in the area where the body was found. Trauma wounds to the man's body. They are ruling the death a homicide. They believe the body had been there for some time. Okay, now this is the part I'm having trouble with. The body had been there for some time. Okay, well, I know the area has a lot of homeless people. I know the area has a lot of people in tents and stuff, which means nobody was checking out the body in the back of the bank branch. The staff parks over there. You don't look at it and go, hey, there's a dude, or maybe you're just so used to it at that point, you just go, yeah, he's there. Yeah, he's going to be there a while, I guess. This is just the world we live in Georgetown here in Seattle. Anybody surprised by any of this? My surprise with this one, actually, it's not that people are so indifferent about it, because the apathy has set in on the entire city. That's what it's like around here. I'm not surprised by this story at all. I'm surprised the body was actually found at this point.
Well, and I'm going to advocate for, I guess, the staff on this one. And I obviously don't have images of this, but let's just say it's kind of your typical homeless guy, right?
Yeah.
And so they're in like a, frumpy jacket, maybe a hood and whatever. I mean, how many people do you see on the side of the road that they might be dead? We have really no way to know. When I came into work, I think it was Tuesday.
Yeah.
There was a guy in a wheelchair slumped over.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad, but I'm 99% sure that's just someone tweaked out.
Right. So,
but 1% of the time they're dead.
Right. So I'm walking, where were we walking? In front of our building. This was about a month ago. I'm going to Starbucks to grab a coffee. And I'm walking over past our building, and out front of our building is a wheelchair that was clearly stolen from one of our local hospitals. It's one of the really ornate ones, and it's got gear on it. And I'm like, how'd you get that out the front door? I got that question, right? And my first question was, where's the dude who's supposed to be in it? Right? If you're going to go sell the thing, I mean, sell it on eBay or whatever it is, but why would you just leave it in front of our building? How many times? Okay, here's that green tent is finally gone that was near the office. You know which one I'm talking about. When you're walking to Seattle Center, it was always on the right over there. That one was there for ages. Finally gone. Did any of us ever knock on the door and say, hey, dude, you okay in there?
Come on, knock on our door.
There you go. Exactly. Actually, to give Jonathan Cho credit, anytime he goes out on these things, you hear in his videos, he's always asking people, you okay? You need help? You okay? You need help? I mean, Andrea Suarez goes out and does this all the time because it's a job none of us want to do. Insane. Absolutely insane. And speaking of jobs that nobody wants to do, question is, are our allies going to come help us out with Iran and clearing the strait? Got some awesome audio for you of President Trump's best line when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, more chances to win fantabulous prizes. And Mom Donnie's wife is in even more hot water. But before we get to any of that, got some breaking news for you right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
Fox News is reporting that warthogs and other similar vehicles are being deployed to the Middle East. Why are we sending all this ground material? Why are we sending all these Marines over to the area? The boots may not be on the ground, but they're on the water right now. That's what's happening.
We are sending them in flip-flops.
Well, Ari, technically they're wearing flippers. They're wearing big flippers as they're scuba diving in.
I'd like to put the reel-to-reel or the cassette tape in and flash back to yesterday when I was like, I'm really nervous about this being a long, drawn-out operation. And then let's rewind that cassette tape to now, and it's like, oh, wow, Zach was almost right.
Yeah, well, the question is this one of those things where it's, hey, let's get him to the negotiating table? Because don't forget, before the airstrikes began, they were negotiating with Iran. And finally, when Iran's like, yeah, we're not giving up our nuclear program or anything, that's when the U.S. is like, bye. But what they kept doing was they were building up material and building up material. And by the way, this is how Trump usually works. His MO is, I'm going to build up all this material, and we're either going to go to war or we're not going to go to war. And that's how we do things. So the question is this a big bluff, or is this something that's going to actually happen? Now, we know President Trump says a lot, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. He had his best line of, in my opinion, of all time today while sitting in the Oval Office. So the Prime Minister of Japan is in town for a visit. Japan is one of our allies. Japan is one of the countries that we want helping us clear the Strait of Hormuz so we can bring down gas prices for everybody else, and our gas prices will go down. Well, a Japanese reporter asked President Trump a question, and his response to it was glorious. Give a listen.
Of course, no, Japan and US are very good friends, but one question, why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing, you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right? You know, he's asking me, no, you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us. And we had to surprise him, and we did. And because of that surprise, we knocked out, the first 2 days, we probably knocked out 50% of what we, and much more than we anticipated doing. So if I go and tell everybody about it, there's no longer a surprise, right?
Exactly. Plus, more communications means there's more people in the loop, more people who can find out, more people who can leak information. Now, what's funny to me is right after this conversation, here's what goes out over the news.
Watching the White House right now, President Trump is about to meet with Japan's prime minister. This is a critical moment. The president demanding U.S. allies contribute more as we, along with Israel, knock down a nuclear-thirsty enemy in Iran and protect key oil shipping lanes in the Middle East. A new joint statement from Japan and other allies signaling they are ready to help secure the shipping now through the Strait of Hormuz and support efforts to stabilize global energy supplies. Now, that's counter to what some of them have previously said. We will take you to this as soon as it...
Okay, so right before that thing, sorry, not after, right before that, Fox News announces that the allies are going to help clear the Strait of Hormuz, and they're going to come in because President Trump said he wasn't happy. They don't want to be hit with tariffs. They don't want to have problems with President Trump. They got this meeting coming up. Japan probably said, we're meeting with the guy. He's going to ask about this. How about we just say we're going to send in a couple ships and help him out, and guess what? We might get lower gas prices out of the deal. Might actually solve the problem. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, that's probably the sequence of events that happened here. You don't telegraph your plans to the enemy. You don't do that. You don't give it away. Otherwise, it's not a surprise. You want to make sure everybody is on the same page with your allies, but sometimes you're worried about too many cooks being in the kitchen, which means more material leaking. Speaking of leaking. Now the FBI says that the FBI does not say. There was a report from the Daily Caller that officials told the Daily Caller, Ashley Talcott, that Joe Kent is under investigation by the FBI. The FBI would not confirm it, but then again, the FBI doesn't confirm anything for potentially leaking material. Now, according to the report, Joe Kent has been out of the loop with what's been going on at the White House for a while now because they were worried about him leaking. And this leads more credence to the fact that maybe he was about to be fired. So what he did was he timed this whole go out in a blaze of glory, get on Tucker Carlson's show, make all these claims, and then be able to easily enter the podcast world. So we can see Declassified with Joe Kent. Well, I'll tell you is that last night I watched the entire Tucker Carlson Joe Kent interview, so you didn't have to. There are so many disprovable claims that were in this thing. For example, let's just start off with this one right here.
Was Iran on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon?
No, they weren't, 3 weeks ago when this started, and they weren't in June either. I mean, the Iranians have had a religious ruling, a fatwa, against actually developing a nuclear weapon since 2004.
Stop right there. Stop right there. That is nonsense. That has been debunked multiple times. From the Middle East, media report. On the eve of the fifth round of U.S.-Iran nuclear negotiations, and this goes back to May of 2025, the fatwa allegedly issued by Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei banning Iran's development, possession, and use of nuclear weapons as a guarantee that Iran would not seek to obtain them was brought up by two mouthpieces of the Iranian regime. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi discussed it in a television interview on May 22nd, and the Iranian regime mouthpiece Kaitan discussed it in an article published May 21st, 2025. Now you're just repeating Iranian propaganda? If they had a fatwa, how come they had nuclear material? How come they had centrifuges? How come they had these big facilities? How come they were building intercontinental ballistic missiles? If there was a fatwa, which is a religious decree. Okay, so the way it works in the Muslim world is a little similar to the Jewish world. A rabbi gives a ruling on something, you got to do the thing the rabbi says. And usually it's like, Rabbi, can I eat that bacon? And the rabbi's like, no, that's a religious decree that you can't have the bacon. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. They're claiming that the Ayatollah said no development of nuclear weapons. Well, the funny thing is, I have quote after quote after quote after quote of Iranian officials from the regime saying they're going to use the nuclear weapons on the United States and Israel. What kind of nonsense is he peddling here? Worse than that. It's worse than that. Within minutes of this interview starting, clips were already circulating. The exact same caption, the exact same clips, the exact same timestamps flooding the internet. That's not organic. That's coordinated. Look, even people who steal material from each other in our social media spheres, they usually do something to change the headline because they want to make it look like they got it. They do something to change it so it looks like it's their piece. They change the title. They change the quote. They cut it a little differently, even though they're ripping it off from somebody else. Yeah, not this time. They're identical. From people that we know are not bots to people that we know are bots. You had Russian propaganda and Iranian propaganda spreading these same clips across the internet. That is not organic. That is coordinated. According to Honest Reporting, the trigger quote, "The Israelis drove the decision to go to war with Iran," was clipped and posted across hundreds of accounts almost simultaneously. Not minutes after it trended, during the broadcast itself. Real breaking news takes time to spread. This had a running start. Let me illustrate the point. I opened this segment with the clip of President Trump making the comment about Pearl Harbor. I saw that clip today when I first woke up. I saw that clip. And I said, oh, that's funny. I should share that when I get to work. I went for a haircut today. So I wash up, I do my morning routine, talk to my wife for a bit, and then what do? I get in the car and I go get a haircut. So I go get a haircut. I still haven't posted the clip yet. After I'm done with the haircut, my phone was buzzing a lot in the chair. And what is it? It's my family in one of our family chats talking about the clip because my son loves everything with Pearl Harbor, saw the clip, thought it was hysterical, shared it with everybody. I go get a coffee. It's still buzzing in my pocket more and more and more. I check it when it's safe to check my phone when I get to the office, and it's my military buddies. Hey, Ari, have you seen this one? Then I get sorted out here in the office, and I still haven't posted the clip, and then I get another text. It's the synagogue people being like, Ari, did you see this clip? Did you see that clip? That is how a clip spreads normally. And then after that, I posted it. I should have posted it first thing in the morning. It would have avoided a lot of unnecessary text, but also maybe then I would have gotten some of those clicks and not somebody else. That is how a clip that goes viral normally spreads. Not the same intro, not the same anything. And in fact, if you look at everybody in conservative world who shared that clip, none of their headlines match. So who amplified these clips? Russian state TV, Iranian state media, Hamas-aligned Quds News Network, the Turkish state broadcasters, and Candace Owens, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Max Blumenthal, Jackson Hinkle, alt-right dissenters all posting the exact same thing. It wasn't spontaneous. It was scripted. That's what this was. Now, question is it having any impact whatsoever? Are the Tucker Carlsons of the world, who are now fully anti-America, are the Megyn Kellys, are the Candace Owens having any impact whatsoever? Well, actually, there's polling on this. According to the New York Post, reports of Republican fractures over President Trump's decision to go to war with Iran have been greatly exaggerated, according to a new poll. The J&L Partners survey shows that 83% of likely Republican voters strongly or somewhat support Operation Epic Fury, while just 9% say they strongly or somewhat oppose military action in Iran. Now, this is similar to the conversation Zach and I were having yesterday. Do you think Iran needs to be destroyed? Sure. Do you think the Ayatollah is a bad guy? Yes. Do we think they should have nuclear weapons? No. Okay, well, what does that actually mean? And that's where you get into the disagreement point that Zach and I were having yesterday on air. I'm a little bit more militant when it comes to this. Zach is a little bit more gas prices minded, and that's fine. But this survey, that's what it actually did. Do you fully agree? Do you somewhat agree? How do you feel about it? Nearly 3/4 of respondents say the U.S. should continue its campaign until Iran's military capabilities are destroyed, with 16% saying Trump should stop the war immediately. That's a really low number. Compared to prominent podcasters, Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly, both of whom have criticized the president over the Iran war, the poll found 83% of likely Republican voters trust Trump's judgment, while just 6% place more confidence in the podcasters. Even more respondents agree with Trump's foreign policy views over Carlson and Kelly, while 85% say they take the president more seriously on world affairs than media commenters and podcasters. Only 6% went with the media podcasters. That's it. Now, what I find entertaining about this is kind of what I'm seeing over on my social media accounts. On my social media accounts, is there dissent? Yes. But once you get rid of the ones you know are actual bots, there is very little dissent. And the ones who are dissenting are the ones who are fans of, wait for it, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Joe Kent, all that. The majority of what I see about the Joe Kent stuff is the reaction you and I had. Either I'm not surprised, I knew he was a plant, or I'm sad because I really believed in the guy and I donated to the guy. What do you think? Does this poll line up with your thoughts? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here, Ari, this is from John. The A-10 Warthogs are in use as agile, robust platform with long loiter time to engage the IRGC speedboats. There is a division already in Kuwait, so sending the amphibious force is a reinforcement. Yes, 1,000%. Actually, there was a really cool video they put up. I love the A-10 Warthogs. I don't know if it's because I had the G.I. Joe version when I was a kid or because of Transformers or whatever. It's a really cool plane. Ari, here, this one from the 360. Oh, from El Darthbo. Ari, you are hitting the nail on the head with the Iran event. Keep up the good work. Thank you, but I do appreciate that. This one here from John in Lakewood. Ari, I think we need boots on the ground to take over Karg Island. Okay. See, this is where we start getting into the debate among a lot of people. That's what we're talking about here. I love the people who always do the brrrt of the guns of the A-10 Warthog. You get a lot. Anytime you bring up the A-10 Warthog, you talk about that. So, yeah, this sounds about right for what's going on. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, what's up, man?
A couple of things. First off, I love the A-10 Warthog. Burt, Attack, and you should all read Flying in the Face of Fear by Kim Campbell. But that isn't why I called, sadly. I happen to know how the Capitol Correspondents Association got their lawyers.
Hang on, Joe. We got to explain this to everybody because it's off topic. So let me explain it, and then you can say your piece, and then I will argue with you. Okay? We're going to do it that way. Is that cool with you?
Let's go.
Okay. All right. Here we go. So Joe probably saw a video I did from yesterday's show over on social media because Joe oftentimes watches the show on social media or on our streaming platforms. What I was talking about was how the Spokesman Review did an article about me, Brandy Cruz, and Jonathan Cho getting denied a restraining order to institute our press passes to go cover the Capitol in Olympia on the Democrat side of the House of Representatives. In that article from the Spokesman Review admitted that it was helping to pay for the lawsuit because they have one of their press members is in the Washington Capitol Correspondents Association. Go, Joe. The floor is yours.
All righty. Well, the Capitol Correspondents Association is mainly a small group of journalists that cover the Washington State Legislature. They were named as a defendant in Brandy Cruz's lawsuit, and as such had a right to seek legal assistance.
Hang on. Quick clarification. It's my lawsuit too, right? So let's start with that. Who's the main plaintiff on the lawsuit? What does it say at the top of that page? Have you read it yet?
Okay, Ari Hoffman.
There you go.
I was trying to spare you from my wrath. I was trying to save you from my A-10.
Well, that's nice.
Mate.
That's nice. I got you. Keep going. Yeah.
But, in that lawsuit, you named the Capitol Correspondents Association. So they called the Washington Coalition for Open Government and put in a request for air support. And they got Catherine George, esteemed media lawyer, to represent them. And they've also called on for more Washington Coalition for Open Government air support in the weeks to come. You may be hearing something about it on my birthday, about one element of it, which is March 25th. So we're going to have a big birth of a birthday.
Okay, let me ask you something here, Joe. Let me ask you this, okay? Do you think it is right for journalists to be denying other journalists press access?
Yes, when those journalists, those so-called journalists start screaming, cancel your cancel subscriptions. They have a right to
okay,
defend
whoa,
themselves.
hang on. The Seattle Times has called me a liar, said my coverage of the autonomous zone was not accurate. They have done that.
I haven't heard that.
Oh, no. This was 6 years ago. I will find the article. I will send it to you because they called me a liar for my coverage of the autonomous zone. What does Seattle Times love covering these days? Missing text messages, warlords, and autonomous zones. So I was right. If I was wrong about anything I said, then guess what? They owe me a massive, or rather, if I was wrong about that, they wouldn't be covering the lawsuits from all the businesses. What they called me a liar about was I was talking about how businesses were feeling threatened by people in the autonomous zone. The businesses sued over that, and they covered the story about the lawsuit.
Okay. But,
and here's something else, Joe. Their lawsuit is not about the fact that we say cancel the Seattle Times. Their lawsuit is about the fact that we advocate for positions. What does the Seattle Times do anytime? What does the Seattle Times do anytime it writes an endorsement for any candidate?
They advocate their editorial board, which is separate from the
It
journalists.
is not separate from the paper. Who are the people who work for the editorial board?
The journalists work for editors.
Who assigns the stories to the journalists?
Different editors than the editorial board.
Okay. Are they part of the same newspaper?
Yes.
Okay. That's all there is, Joe. That's it. Here's something else. The Climate Lab, which is anytime they talk about climate change. That's paid for by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, isn't it?
I believe so. But,
Okay.
my
Are
point
they
is-
advocating for a position when they run that thing? How about the Education Lab, which is paid for by some other grant? Are they advocating for a position when they do that? How about Project Homeless?
No.
How about Project Homeless, which is paid for by another thing when they do that? They never report what's actually going on with the homeless. They report what the sponsor wants them to cover.
No, there's a firewall between.
There
the
is
sponsors
no
and the reporters.
firewall. There, okay,
Harry,
Joe.
they
Joe,
put in
there is
writing
no.
there's a
Do you ever
firewall.
hear me bashing the sponsors of this show? Do you know why? One, they give us money, and because they sponsor the show. Two, it would be rude. It would be rude. Three, we have great sponsors. They don't do anything that ticks me off. Otherwise, they won't be sponsors of this show. Okay? If somebody's giving you money, you don't bash them. Joe, I think you have a very naive way of looking at this. I understand you want to stick up for the media, but realize they would not stick up for you. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. I love all the texts we're getting about the A-10 Warthog. We'll talk about it a lot more. I promise we'll talk more about the Warthog. We will. But also we're going to talk about Mom Donnie's wife because she has a whole bunch of social media posts that are even worse than the last ones. And she used a certain word you're not allowed to say anymore. It's canceled comedians. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. That music means it's time for your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today, we are giving away count them, 2 tickets to see Aaron Lewis and the State Liners in the Muckleshoot Events Center on March 24th. All you have to do is text the word I give you to the number I give you. Don't worry, I don't need your name, I don't need your phone number, I don't need any other piece of information. If you are the winner, we will find you, and we will give you tickets to Aaron Lewis and the State Liners. Today's word is away. One word, away, A-W-A-Y. That's away. Text the word away to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. 5757 for your chance to win. The text line is funny today. It seems like there's two schools of people on the text line right now, and we're all arguing about the A10 Warthog. It's the people who go, I love the Warthog, coolest plane ever. You know it can do this, you know it can do that. And people who think I don't know what the Warthog is. So I find both of these very entertaining. It's a great discussion from the members of our military and our flight aficionados, our plane aficionados, everything. I do like this one from Robin Lakewood. The U.S. Air Force Fighters Mafia has been trying to kill it for 20 years. They have been trying to kill that sucker. You know what I don't understand? Maybe some of our military friends can give us a call and give us some perspective on this. So a plane's getting old. The A-10 is still useful, and the military likes the A-10, but some higher-ups always want to kill the thing. Why don't you just come out with a new version of the A-10? That's what I don't understand. Just come out with the A-10E, F, G, H, I, J, K. If we could do that with Enterprises, why can't we do that with this? It should be a piece of cake. This shouldn't be a hard thing. But yeah, people are really excited that I mentioned the A-10 Warthog. I should remember to mention the A-10 Warthog in future conversations, given I know it's not the thing from the Halo game on Xbox. I know it's not that Warthog, guys. I know I had the G.I. Joe thing of this. Anyway, this one here's another story for everybody. This one, which is the First Lady of New York, Zoran Mamdani's wife. So she's been in trouble for old social media posts and things she likes and things she doesn't like and things she retweets and things she shares. Well, somebody did a deep dive at the Washington Free Beacon and found her old accounts from when she was a teenager. Oh, you think you're safe from this? This is why I tell my daughter. I said, sweetie, don't post anything online ever. It's not that important. And you know what's going to happen? One day, somebody's going to dig up anything. It's all going to be fair game. You're not going to get a job or something because of it. It is now part of the job application process. So, according to the Washington Free Beacon review of her old X and Tumblr account, the wife of Mayor Zoran Mamdani shared and reposted content as a teen and young adult that glorified members of the Popular Front for Liberation of Palestine, a U.S. designated terrorist organization. On top of that, in one of the posts, she uploaded a 2017 photo of infamous plane hijacker Layla Khaled, a PFLP operative who took part in 2 airline hijackings in 1969 and 1970, earning the dubious honor of the first woman to hijack an airplane. Wow. We're going to put that in a museum. First woman to hijack an airplane. Fantastical. Alongside the image, she wrote one of her statements. If it does good for my cause, I'd be happy to accept death. Do you put that in your yearbook? Can somebody find her yearbook and see if that's next to her profile picture right there? See if that's next to her class picture right there. My quote is actually from Braveheart. Yes, Mel Gibson. My quote is from a Mel Gibson movie. Every man dies.
My picture was, it was a picture I think they took on the golf team, but I was blinking weird.
Yeah.
So I was like kind of eyes half closed, and I just said, the eyes tell more than words could ever say.
That's good. I like that one. The report found that she also praised other terrorist figures, including Shadia Abu Ghazaleh, a militant involved in attacks against Israelis. In a 2015 repost for International Women's Day, she highlighted this female terrorist as pioneering resistance fighter. She also shared imagery tied to the first Intifada, an uprising marked by deadly violence that helped fuel the rise of Hamas, and circulated content hailing freedom fighters of Palestine. You know, Paula Abdul was wrong. I'm sorry, Paula Abdul was wrong. Opposites don't attract. Usually, you find something in common with somebody who you have similar interest with. So, why do you think Zoran Mamdani picked her, and why do you think she picked Zoran Mamdani? Dawaji also disparaged the United States in a 2015 Tumblr repost in which American troops were slammed as not brave and accused of mercilessly slaughtering third world civilians to preserve American hegemony. Another post blamed white people for creating Al-Qaeda. Snapchat featured a picture of Tel Aviv in 2015. She reportedly amplified posts declaring the city shouldn't exist in the first place. You're right, because if the Palestinians had their way, they'd all be living in tents. And accused Israel of genocide. Additionally, Dawaji, who isn't black, used the N-word in a 2013 X post, writing, hell yeah, blank, super genius, excuse you. Really progressive. By the way, of all the things she wrote, the support for terrorism and everything else, I think it's that one that might get her. That's the one that usually gets you. Anybody hear from Michael Richards from Seinfeld in a long time? No, clearly not. Earlier this month, reports revealed that she had liked Instagram posts celebrating Hamas's October 7th, 2023 terror attack on Israel, including one that dismissed reports of sexual violence against the Israeli victims as a mass rape hoax. She also faced criticism for contributing artwork to an essay by an author who compared Israeli and Jews to cockroaches and vampires. Hey, by the way, if we were vampires, that'd be kind of cool. I want to turn into a bat and fly places. That sounds like fun. Meanwhile, New York's first couple was also under fire this month after hosting Hamas-supporting activist Mahmoud Khalil at Gracie Mansion. The mayor has insisted his wife holds no formal role in his administration and should not be judged for years-old posts. Really? When they're supporting terror and you support terror, I will judge her as much as I want, my friends. Up next, is the left going to tear down the Cesar Chavez statues? How about the bus that was in the Oval Office? What about all the gardens and streets around here that are named after the dude? We'll give you the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all, where you get to be part of the story. This one here from from Rob. Rob says, for your good news segment, James Comey got subpoenaed over the Department of Justice's grand conspiracy probe. Hope he brings the seashells. Very good, Rob. Do appreciate that one. From Becky in Enumclaw. I wonder if the people of New York have different feelings about the mayor and his wife. Now, if there's any change there, I don't think so. I think the people who voted them in knew all this going in, and that's why they voted for them, Becky. I know a lot of people in New York. This was a story. So I'm home with my family in October, and it was one of the Jewish holidays. We had another family over. And the other family, they're all conservative except for one kid. One kid, definitely not conservative. Still friends of the family, though. And she and her husband mentioned they were voting for Mamdani. We all lost it on them, absolutely lost it. Because every Jew I know is like, how can you vote for the guy? And they're like, well, I really like his policies. And we're like, which one? Killing the Jews? You're out of your mind. Which policy of his do you enjoy? People are crazy. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from Corey in Bellevue. Corey, what's up, man?
For about 3 years, I was a combat control technician. Those are the Air Force people who call in ground strikes for the ground forces.
Yeah.
And we worked with the A-10s. In the 90s, when the Air Force tried to get rid of the A-10, they converted to the OA-10, observation and attack platform.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to all the night and all weather capabilities they put after Desert Storm, they also gave it abilities to act as a forward air controller. Because those planes used to be prop-driven, they were vulnerable in air battle space. So the A-10 is not just the finest tank destroyer in the world and able to provide great close air support for ground troops. It can operate independently, coordinating strikes by remotely piloted aircraft, by missiles, by JDAMs, and other ordnance, as well as targeting any remaining air defense systems, which it's knocking out, as well as tanks or disheartened bunkers or the besieged militia checkpoints.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not purely an indication we're going to be sending in ground troops. It can do some unique capabilities that no other aircraft we have in our arsenal can do.
So let me ask you this, because this is what I think they're using them for, Corey, and you back me up if you think this is apropos, okay? If you have to take out police stations in close quarter areas, do you think you'd be sending in the A-10 for something like that? Because I think what they need to do is remove all the IRGC police stations, which are the ones that are keeping the people from rising up. Do you think this indicates that's what they're doing?
That's certainly one of the things it can do. For close air support, so we have what's called a danger close when we're dropping ordnance, anything from mortars to artillery and everything.
Mm-hmm.
A-10 can go danger close within 100 meters of friendly troops.
Gotcha.
And there's videos you can find online. There's open source information that can do that. Also, they're really great at taking out those speedboats or remotely piloted naval craft they can send after our carriers.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, this is open source information. They're using them to take out some of the higher speed remotely piloted aircraft or drones or targets. It's actually cheaper to use a short burst from that DAW cannon on there, that 3mm cannon, than using some of our anti-missile systems to take out some of these cheaper drones. So it's really a multi-purpose platform that can add to the spectrum of things that we can do when we're in theater.
And people want to get rid of this sucker. Corey, appreciate the call. Appreciate all your advice on this. Appreciate all your insight on this. Appreciate your expertise on this. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. If you don't know the plane that we're talking about right now, have you seen Transformers? Number one, the good one. Okay, you know when they're fighting the big thing in the desert and they call in the air support? And there's those planes with the funny-looking square-shaped wings and small little engines with the Gatling gun on the front. That's the plane we're talking about, that guy. It's meant for close quarters. People love that sucker. Switching gears entirely over here, you know who people aren't loving anymore? Cesar Chavez. He was a civil rights leader and a co-founder of the United Farm Workers.
And certified bad hombre.
There you go. Cesar Chavez apparently for years was doing not so good things with women and girls, including underage victims over a period of years. And what's crazy is people have come forward to talk about it and said, well, we didn't say anything because we didn't want to hurt the cause. The whole cause is going to collapse now. Who wants to be part of this anymore? You want to know how bad it is? You want to know how bad it is that everybody's removing the stuff about this guy? They're even doing it here in Seattle on Beacon Hill, where they're not known for listening to the Ari Hoffman show. Give a listen to this report from Como News.
Hi, everybody on social media. We are covering a pretty serious topic today, and that is how local municipalities are handling Cesar Chavez. You know him from history as a leader with United Farm Workers, and there has been reporting in the last couple of days by the New York Times accusing him of grooming and sexually abusing young women who were part of that movement. And that has led to a difficult conversation here in Seattle and elsewhere about what to do with places that have his name on them. And I can tell you, I just spoke with Estela Ortega, who is the executive director of El Centro de la Raza here on Beacon Hill. She called it a sad day and said, yes, this will come down. The demonstration garden here on Beacon Hill will come down. It will be renamed. They'll have another discussion about whether to take his mural down here at this building, which has really been an organization that has done a lot of great work over the last several years. Ortega has been a pillar in this community. I also talked with Governor Bob Ferguson about this issue, Senator Rebecca Saldana, who also worked to get Chavez's name in places like at Seattle U. You'll hear more of their reaction later on today on Como News.
Now, what I find funny about that report, and thank you to Chris Daniels from Como News for that report, Chris Daniels was there for the Bob Ferguson event talking about all the anti-ICE stuff. So he's there, and he probably walked outside and sees the garden and goes, whoa, 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 wait a second. That's why it's a social media report. That's why it's not news yet, because he probably wasn't prepared for that. He walked in, he went, that says Cesar Chavez. We've got the New York Times talking about what a terrible guy Cesar Chavez is. Hey, you guys going to rename that sucker? You guys going to take that thing down? Oh, wait a minute. Let's do what the left does. Bob Ferguson was at an event where there's a known sexual abuser garden that's named after a sexual abuser. We have to cancel Bob Ferguson. Got to do it. Isn't that how this would normally go down? This is normally how this would go down, right? That's exactly what would happen. We're all aware of this, right? Yeah. So Bob Ferguson does an event there today, and probably the people from the organization didn't realize, oh, crud, we've got this thing out front. We've got the whole media showing up with Bob Ferguson today. Talk about bad timing. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news headlines put a smile on your face heading into your evening commute. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And I know we're a few days out of the Oscars, but this clip was making the rounds on social media. So after Javier Bardem and all the others were saying all their lunacy on stage, somebody dug this one up from the Oscars back in the 1970s. So what happened was one actress went on stage and spewed out a whole bunch. Her name was Vanessa Redgrave. She won Best Supporting Actress in 1978. And she used the opportunity to make a political speech, bashing everybody, including the Jews. And Patty Chayefsky, who's a World War II veteran, came on out afterwards after winning an Oscar for The Network. And then he says this.
Before I get on to the writing awards, there's a little matter I'd like to tidy up. At least if I expect to live with myself tomorrow morning. I would like to say, personal opinion of course, that I'm sick and tired of people exploiting the occasion of the Academy Awards. For the propagation of their own personal political propaganda. I would like to suggest to Miss Redgrave that her winning an Academy Award is not a pivotal moment in history, does not require a proclamation, and a simple thank you would have sufficed.
Yeah, it's the older version of what Ricky Gervais did, right? That's the old version of it. When Ricky Gervais came out here and told everybody during the Golden Globes they were in no position to lecture anybody about anything. Yeah, I mean, these are all the friends of Jeffrey Epstein. So let's be real about this for a second. But what's interesting to me about that clip, they're all cheering him. Now they cheer the Vanessa Redgraves of the world. And they wonder why things are why nobody cares what they have to say. Why do we care what a bunch of actors have to say about any of this stuff? That's why people have just had enough of all of this nonsense. And I don't know if you saw this, by the way. I don't know if you call this good news. It's good news for us to make fun of, but it's bad news for Hollywood. This is one of the lowest Oscars ever rated on TV. One of the lowest ones, even with Conan O'Brien hosting. Now, I will say, some people are being too sensitive about some of the jokes. I thought the Schindler's List joke was hysterical. I know some people got mad about that. Somebody was talking about abbreviating movie names and movie titles to make them shorter because everything's shorter these days, like one word. And somebody goes, instead of Schindler's List, can we just make it Schindler's Post-it? And I thought that was kind of funny.
I was thinking about this about the Oscars the other day. We always complain about, like, I don't know, a lot of the movies. We usually know one or two. But I think part of the problem is there's never any contest.
Well, that's the thing. We were discussing this on Monday, where so few movies actually even qualify for the Oscars now.
Exactly.
So when you look at that, the popcorn stuff that we like isn't going to qualify.
You can't root for anything.
No.
And that's I think music awards shows do way better because you have your favorite musical artist and you know them all for the most part.
Sure.
I mean, by and large.
Yeah. But here, there's nothing to root for. Your movie's not going to get nominated for Best Picture or anything like that.
The only one people liked was Sinners, and it won a lot of things.
Yeah, and it did. And we liked that movie.
But that's a boring contest. An award show is a contest. It's
exactly.
a competition, and if there's no contention,
if you have no skin in
watch?
the game, if there's nobody to root for, why would you go to a basketball game if you don't like either team? Some people just like basketball. Okay, but you still have something to root for. I want to watch basketball. Like Rob Lowe sitting at the Super Bowl wearing a hat that says NFL. Great. Rob Lowe is cheering for football. Fine, but he's still happy about football.
That's what the press box felt like at the Super Bowl, by the way.
What do you mean, where nobody has invested interest?
Go football.
Wait a second. There were other Seattle sports reporters.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to be excited.
Why not?
It's the press box.
So what?
I don't know if you're fit for a press pass.
Oh, so... Deep cut. So what you're saying is like when we go to movie screenings, which are just with the press, which we hate going to those. Yeah, especially when we bring Mike with us because there's no shushing Mike, right? No, definitely not. So you're saying that's what it was like at the Super Bowl?
Mandatory. That's all sporting events are in the press. That Super Bowl is the only one I've been to, but that's why, I mean, listen, I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
But you really have to contain yourself or you will be kicked out.
They'll kick you out?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I saw scoldings left and right.
Scoldings? Scolding.
Public humiliation.
Who is scolding these people?
NPR.
NFL people?
NPR.
Okay. Well, the librarians can be
It's
all
kind
mad
of
about
it's kind
it.
of self-patrolled, but I mean everyone's looking like, ooh, buddy.
So you can't go, yes, like you can't do that.
No,
or
the
you get
guy,
scolded?
the coworker I was there was we do these like hip side fist bumps, and then when it got nervous, I thought we were gonna snap the seat backs off.
Man, this is some insight we didn't get on the Super Bowl.
I thought that was
a.
I didn't know you didn't know that about press box sporting events.
I've never been to one. Not everybody gets the tickets to go see the Super Bowl. I didn't get to go. Nobody offered me tickets to go see the Super Bowl. Zach gets to go, though. That sounded like a lot of fun. Yeah, well, either way, that's still something where you look at something like that and you go, okay, well, it looks so awesome being up there. Well, now you know why the announcers sit separately from everybody else, because they're excited. You watch those announcers losing their minds, going nuts over there. They can't sit near the regular press people. That's why they get their own box.
Exactly.
I understand now. Now I'm totally getting it.
No calling the game from the press box.
I gotcha. Okay.
You're kind of a legal observer, if you will.
Wait a second. In the movies, they're all excited.
Well, that's the movies.
Oh, you know what? Betrayed again by Hollywood. All right, this brings us back full circle to the Oscars. That's going to do it for us today. But you know what? We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.